Over 20 million Americans have a serious drinking problem.
Not only that, Marilyn, but most of them also have a history of abusing additional substances.
Now, that's the bad news, but this morning we have some good news. There are people who are beating the addiction problem and have lived to tell us about the joy of being sober, and we're going to meet some of them next. Stay with us.
Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to Kelly and Company. Let's meet Benny Mason. Benny Mason has been sober for 11 years. He's still recovering from a dual addiction, alcohol and heroin. You had it pretty bad, I understand.
Die before I wake up. You know, when I would wake up in the morning, I didn't want to wake up at all. You know, it's always like, why am I here?
I was about 16 years old. Now that I know about alcoholism, I realized I was an alcoholic as soon as I began.
We're back, and as I said before, we have a lot of stories in the audience. You were addicted to what?
Alcohol, other drugs, marijuana, diet pills.
It started with alcohol?
Yes, alcohol was my first drug of choice. And when I moved to the big city, marijuana gradually became part of it, and then diet pills and a few other drugs.
How long? When did you start?
I started approximately, well, my first drink was when I was 17, and it progressed from there. I began my recovery at the age of 32, and I've been recovering for 13 years. Marijuana came along about the age of 20, and then alcohol just became the focus of my drug abuse.
What happened that made you went to a center, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a center. I woke up, well, I guess I woke up in the middle of a blackout is what happened, and realized that I had to take responsibility for my own life, that alcohol was destroying me. I'd torn my own house apart, I'd torn my marriage apart, I'd torn my children's lives apart, and I knew that the only way that anything was going to make any sense was for me to begin to stop drinking, to look at my alcohol consumption, to look at my to look at my life in an honest kind of way. And I began my recovery.
You had children.
2 girls.
Two girls. Did they tell you after you were in recovery that they wanted to tell you and they didn't tell you, or they were afraid to, or did they try to and you just didn't catch on?
I think one of the most one of the things that lived in my head that I couldn't get out of my head while I was still actively drinking, my husband had taken my 2 daughters to their doctor appointment, and when they came home, my daughter Tracy, who was probably 9 at the time, had her little hands just filled with all the pamphlets that you get out of the pamphlet display thing on alcoholism and the need for recovery. And I was so angry when she handed them to me, and I sat in my bedroom, and I was just livid with anger, but I could see the hurt, and I knew that I had to do something. Yeah, my children tried to tell me very definitely.
So, how did you kick it?
Well, I realized that I had to go to whatever length I had to go to not pick up that first drink. For me, it was what it was for me. You know, for each person, it's different. But I had to really learn how to live. I did not know how to be a social being without alcohol in my life. I had no skills, so I literally had to be around other recovering people every day, not just for 90 days or, you know, a half a year, for just about a whole year. I went to a meeting every day, and an AA meeting I was referring to, 12-step programs. And for me, that's the way it was. It certainly didn't take anything out of my day-to-day living because while I was under the influence of alcohol, I wasn't there anyway. You know, I was just existing. So the couple hours it spent for me to pay attention to my recovery was worth the investment.
Feel great now?
I feel wonderful. I feel wonderful. Thanks. Thanks.
You like Thank you. Fast disappearing audio operator there. That's because he was hanging microphones on our next two guests, one of whom is Howard Friedman. He is an MD, and he is medical director of Havenwick Hospital. You've been listening, I know, to what our panelists have been saying. And
So our bipolar, the old manic depressives, and schizophrenia. There's a number of people who we treat for schizophrenia who are also alcoholic. When you think of it...
Kaplan is a psychologist with the Center for Contemporary Psychology. Let's talk about alcohol. We'll zero in on that. I'd like to zero in on women. Is it different for women than it is for men? I mean, is alcoholism different?
Yes, definitely different for women than men.
We're back, and I wanted to talk to you. Jim Martin?
Jim Martin.
Jim Martin. What was your substance of choice?
Alcohol and some prescribed drugs. Valium, Librium.
When did it start? When did alcohol start?
Well, probably about age 14, 15, I started experimenting with alcohol. And drank up until age 35, which 21 years ago since I last had to take a drink.
21.
21 years.
I think people who don't know think that, oh, 21 years, he'll never drink again. He'll never do those things again.
Well,
Tell him, Jim.
well, I won't drink today, let's put it that way. I was just thinking about the joys of sobriety. I do aerobics with this young lady sitting up here on the panel on a regular basis, so that's one of the gifts of sobriety.
You couldn't do it drunk.
I like the message I like to give is that I was told many times not to compare my drinking with somebody else. You know, I wasn't as bad as somebody else. I didn't lose a job. I didn't lose a wife, and I didn't. My wife passed away. And I think it's important that we don't compare. I don't have to lose a job. I don't have to be divorced. Some of the symptoms that I learned about alcoholism that I had was one was blackouts, not remembering what I did when I drank, just having continuous problems in my life from alcohol. And I think that's important that people should hear that. And a lot of depression and lonely feelings with the alcohol.
But you don't feel now.
No, I have a normal.
Well, we all have normal.
Right.
Yeah.
No, life is great today. Life is exciting, great, and challenging to me.
John?
Guy, you can handle it.
Yeah, it's a lot like Jim's case. In the construction trade, alcoholism is very prevalent.
All over if you just call.
And we'll be back with more right after this. Do you have an
We have to take a break here, and Ron, you're on the line. Just stay there. We know that you want to talk to us, and we'll be with you right after the break. Stay. Okay, Ron, go ahead. We've got you.
Hi, Marilyn. I'm an alcoholic. I have been for at least the last year and a half. And all he was a dream. I lived with an abusive stepfather, God knows how long, verbal and sometimes physical.
Back to you.
What a 12-step. Ryan, what a 12-step.